What we see in here is the news from the year 2050 or 2049. This is the news from the alternative future that happened in an alternative dimension that I recently traveled to. This dimension is 30 years ahead of our time. It's interesting that they still use newspapers in the future.
People are starting to emerge from their in-house shelters to find that their homes have been damaged or completely destroyed by winds of up to 160 miles per hour. Storm surges of up to 15 feet swept inland.
This set of plants is very important because in the future there are food shortages and the people compete for the food on the market. There are too many people and a limited amount of food, so you have to grow your food at home. This is one example of the cabbage that the people grow at home in the hydroponic system that uses fog, bacteria and ceramic soil, beets. It's a nice cabbage. And the light source is the LED light in the red and green spectrum. A red and orange and blue spectrum. It's more energy efficient this way. Those tubes on the side that bring in the fog onto the soil. It's a very resource efficient way to grow food. This is another set of food growing boxes, all in a 2-room apartment. One room is dedicated for food growing and the other room is for living and the kitchen. The black rubber tubes, they connect the boxes so that the fog can travel from one box to the next, and one box with a ventilator is generating the fog, and the plants, they suck up the fog and then they grow, so they get their moisture and nutrients from the fog. And this is the box where the fog comes from, so this little water is enough for a month. Water is also expensive in the future, so you have to be very useful and careful with it. And this little fan is blowing bubbles into the water and creating fog. It's all a pressurized system. And again, there is the light spectrum is very efficient. There is no extra light that is not required for the plants. Another box of plants. This is kale and herbs. The plants also grow faster. This is another lamp, LED lamp with a heater which heats up the space. Yeah, you can grow plants very well in this setup. The most important is to watch the connections so that they don't leak the fog. And you see the fog is generated very well by the pressure of the fan and bubbles. Those are flowers. For fun, people grow flowers in the future. Even though there is food scarcity, the people still grow flowers at home. That's for fun. And this is the All vegetables, all edible plants, and you can also drink the tea from the flowers. And you can see in here there's a lot of fog that's coming out. You have to cover it up with sticky tape if you want to reduce the humidity at home. This is another setup. People also grow algae in home because the algae, they have a lot of minerals and nutrients. So the people grow algae in home in this set of setup. All the glass bottles are connected to the same pump that pumps air, so that the algae have something to eat. Within a week you can grow enough algae to make a nice smoothie. It's a very basic setup: lamps, bubbles and water and algae. Also, people in the future grow the mushrooms at home in a sterilized organic soil, damp grass or damp wood chips. The mushrooms can grow within a month or 2 months. It's a good business also. People grow and sell them. They have a lot of antioxidant, a lot of valuable nutrition inside of them. Those are oyster mushrooms. In the year 2050, October 2050, yeah, these houses have this different type of plants that you grow inside of the house because the food is became so expensive that it's more affordable to grow your own food. And it's also a fun project, even if you are forced to do it. Another source of food is the growing of insects in these plastic boxes. So people just give a little bit of cereals on the bottom, and the mealworms, they eat these cereals and they produce protein inside of their body. It's a good source of protein. Just within a month or 3 weeks, you can have lots of harvestable protein. Simple setup, very easy. That's the future. As you can see, every little space of the room is utilized for growing food. And there are 8 people who live in this flat. This is another hydroponic setup, a little bit more advanced, with fish on the bottom. The fish release the poop into the water and provide nutrients for the plants, and the air pumps the nutrients with the water to the top, where the plants filter out the nutrients and grow, and then the water drops back to the fish. So it's a filtration and a growing system. This is another plant growing setup, also inside of the indoor plant growing in plastic bags that have little holes cut out. The soil and the humidity is inside of the plastic, and the plants that stick out, and the lamps that provide the energy for the growth. Simple setup. Every little space is utilized, every wall. That's also the future. And also there are lots of robots. This is just a toy robot for fun. But basically the robots and the 3D labs, they print everything you need, so there is no shopping. You just download files and you print your own products. This is one example of the self-made printer, which is less precise, less efficient, but it gets the job done on a very tight budget with recycled plastic. It's a basic printer for basic objects. For something more complex, this is an industrial housing manufacturing robot which is building bricks and structures that will be integrated into the apartment houses. And there are also large industrial robots that print the houses on the construction site. So lots of work is automated. This is another robot that is milling the facade of the building, of the room. The small bubbles will protect the room from the noise from the outside. So this is a panel for noise protection. And yes, there are lots of robots. Lots of robots. Small ones and the large ones too. Another thing of the future is that the street lights are different. They are more elegant and they have non-traditional shapes. This is like a star. Everything has light inside. This is a glowing pole on the road for the bicycle. It's a bicycle stand which is glowing because light is cheap. Buildings are glowing. Everything is glowing because there are lots of LEDs and the lighting is more efficient, more cheap. The building becomes like a display. In 2015. And there are alternative street lights because the technology is so cheap and abundant that people put up lots of lights to lighten the sky. And of course the cars are all electric. The Tesla Model S is still popular in the future with a range of 2000 miles per charge. And that's the bathroom of the future with a fun art, Mother Maria and Father Joe. This is the decoration of the future. The real animals did die out, so you can only buy toys animals and put them on the wall because there is no real animals anymore. Old plants from the old forest became the decoration as an art because there is no new forest growing. So everything that remains of the forest becomes an object of collection. And this is where the rockets fly from Earth to space. This is the rocket station. So inside of the shaft there is an elevator. People go up, enter the rocket, then the rocket starts and flies off into space. So this is a spaceport. Simple setup, very efficient. Can be very close to the city, so that you don't have to travel too much to the spaceport. Faster than the airport. There is a start every 15 minutes. People collect grass for eating. And of course there are tall buildings. The buildings all get taller because of the space issue in the urban environments. Land is scarce and the people like to live closer to each other for the convenience and efficiency. So there are very tall buildings in the future with a massive structure. And now let's just have some entertainment and see how the robots on the future dance, the light robots. Actually the robots don't work anymore, they just have fun. So instead of working in factories, they just dance in the streets and have a huge party. They don't need housing, they don't need food. Whatever the energy they need, they just get from the sunshine. So the robots of the future, they're just partying all the time instead of working in the factories. Yeah, those guys have fun. I just see the dance and watch and have fun.
Now we appear to be about to move from the strictly human domain to the human-machine symbiosis, and of course machines process information, make connections, and do their work at a rate thousands of times faster than any human being can do alone. And that's what I mean by saying that the time is speeding up.